Hello everyone, it's Brian here, and I guess I'll call this a report on a recent and small vinyl community meetup that happened on Friday night. So on Friday I met up with Rob from Northern Revolutions. This was originally planned to be a bigger meeting with 3 or possibly 4 members of the vinyl community, but due to various circumstances, only the 2 of us made it. So that was fine. In the previous 2 years I met up with Rob, we've done that in Toronto, and this time we decided to meet up in Hamilton, Ontario. So maybe some of you don't know where Hamilton is. I'll try to remember to put a map in here, but essentially it's part of what we call the Golden Horseshoe. There's a really built up area of urban development and industry that wraps around Lake Ontario, the western end, which we call the Golden Horseshoe. Yeah, it's giant, almost like a megalopolis. So Hamilton is a steel manufacturing center in Canada, sometimes known as the Hammer. At some point they produced pretty much all of the steel in Canada, I think, or a huge percentage of it. And so when you drive there from Toronto, you're confronted with this really, what seems like a post-apocalyptic landscape. You pass, on the harbor, you pass these giant smokestacks with these industrial factories and billowing smoke, and if it's raining and gloomy and cloudy, it's very Dickensian, looks really depressing. Not all of Hamilton is like that, of course, but it's just one of those, you're confronted with this thing when you drive from Toronto, which is interesting. Hamilton also has been the recipient of thousands of people fleeing Toronto because of housing prices and cost of living. So the population has increased, and I think the result was that housing prices in Hamilton have gone up. So anyway, on a good day, with no traffic and good weather, and if I exceed the speed limit, I could drive to Hamilton in 45 or 50 minutes, possibly. But usually it takes a lot longer. When I left, the prediction would be like an hour and 20 minutes. But I decided to make a stop on the way. So I went to a place called PCV Records in Oakville on my way to Hamilton. A store I really like, but hadn't been to, I don't even know the last time I was there. It's been a while. It's been years since I've been there. So I decided to go there, and I found 3 things there. So before I met up with Rob, I did this pit stop, and I'm going to tell you about what I got at PCV Records. So first, Adam and the Ant, Dirk Wears White Socks. Now, some of you are already saying, what is this thing you're holding? Because that is not the cover of Dirk Wears White Socks. Well, in fact, this is the cover we got in Canada and I think the United States. So in 1979, the original UK pressing had a different cover. This is a 1983 Canadian repressing. Not only is the cover different, it's called the alternative cover, the track listing is a little bit different too. So the order is different and they made some substitutions. So as opposed to, I think, the 11 tracks that are on the original, there are 12 on this version. Of course, I do know this record. It was the only Adam and the Ants record I didn't have. I almost bought it a while ago. There was a store in Toronto I was in, and they had the original UK pressing, but it was, I thought, very expensive. And I saw this for $5, and I thought I have to get that. And so let me show you what's inside. There's a lyric sheet, image there, and it's on Epic Canadian labels, so pretty cool. I'm happy to get it. I do know it. Funny thing is, I was listening to this recently, and I don't know, I guess I was just sort of sitting there listening to, especially Cleopatra, and I thought, he sounds a bit like early Brian Eno there. I don't know why I thought that, just something about his voice that made me think that, but anyway, that was fun to find that. And I should say, that wasn't a bin, a $5 bin, so that was $5. I thought that was a deal. Now here's an item that has already made MGK Boston a little jealous. This is the Peel Sessions for the Mighty Wah, sometimes known as Wah or Say Wah or just PF Wah. Lots of different Wah variations. Of course, this is from Pete Wiley. And you might know Pete Wiley from that song he did called Sinful. That may be his most famous track. I do always love these Peel Sessions recordings. And, you know, I regret now, I've encountered many of these over the years and haven't bought them from certain bands. I didn't know who they were, and maybe I should have, but I didn't buy them. So I probably should have, because they're really cool. This is a special metallic finish limited edition sleeve, although I think this is the only sleeve. 1987. Here's the track listing, if you can see that. So Basement Blues, Story of the Blues. Sounds quite different from the original release. Better Scream, Weekends, and You Learn. 6 minutes and 50 seconds of You Learn. So that's pretty cool. And it's 45 RPM, Strange Fruit labels, of course. So pretty cool. And so yeah, sorry about that, MGK. The next thing was part of my, I guess, my rediscovery of Lloyd Cole. I absolutely adored Lloyd Cole and the Commotions way back when. Rattlesnakes is a brilliant record. I equally love Easy Pieces. I think those two records are fantastic. Even the next one was good, but those two in particular. And then, like so many bands from the 80s that I used to like, when I got, especially into the 90s, I kind of stopped listening to so many of those artists. And I don't really know why. Echo and the Bunnymen is another one. I sort of just never bothered. But I do have the first Lloyd Cole solo record on vinyl, and I do have his second solo record on compact disc. But I just sort of ignored him after that. And maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I got a copy of Antidepressant, the Lloyd Cole record Antidepressant, which comes with a bonus 7-inch single. And I fell in love with that record. That is a beautiful record. I really love it. And I was thinking to myself, what was I doing all these years not listening to Lloyd Cole? And I got his last one on Pain from 2023 recently. And then I saw this in the bin for excellent price, brand new copy of Lloyd Cole's Guesswork from 2019, his 11th record. And this is really, really great. This, again, is like his last record, more of an electronic recording. So it is possibly fair to call it indie rock, but there's a big electronic component here. Only 8 tracks, so they're quite long tracks, 5 or 6 minutes each. This is the sleeve that comes with it. And if you know a bit about Lloyd Cole and the Commotions, you may recognize some names. So Lloyd Cole plays guitar, synthesizers, and programming. We've got Neil Clark on guitars, Blair Cowan, you might recognize that name, synthesizers and programming, and Fred Marr, synthesizers and programming. So there's no drums credited here, which I find quite interesting. So it's a bit different from Lloyd Cole in so many ways, but the voice is still there. He has an excellent voice still. Lovely blue vinyl. Plays well. Love the sound on this one. So I'm enjoying this one. I now feel like I have to find more of the Lloyd Cole records that I've missed, which may be challenging. So good album cover too. I like the painting there. I guess it's a painting. So that's good. Now, off to Hamilton. I drove to Hamilton. It took me about 45 minutes from where I was because I was a little off the path there. And our predetermined meeting location was a store called Stardust Records. I got there first, walked in the door, and then a few minutes later, Rob showed up. And soon after, we realized that we'd be the only 2 people, which was fine. So Stardust Records, I have never been there before. It is a smallish shop, but it does have a basement, which we did not go into. The basement was jazz and country. We stayed upstairs and looked through the stacks. Now, I don't want to be too negative, but I will say a couple things about the store. One is that they had records on a pegboard, but long pegs. So there were like 5 or 6 records so you could flip through, being careful not to let them fall onto the floor, which was okay. But above that, there were more of those things which you couldn't actually look at. So it said something like ask for help. So that means if you wanted to look at those records, you had to ask him to take down like a whole host of records, which didn't seem feasible to me. And there was one section that had records shelved sideways like this. So you had to like turn your head and look at the spines or pull everyone out. And that section oddly was girls. So Kate Bush, Joan Jett, everything that was a female singer was in there, which I thought was a little weird. But probably the most concerning part was the prices I thought were really high. Now, I don't know if that's a Hamilton versus Toronto thing or what that is, but it was, I mean, I was stunned. I saw a copy of a Rush record for $75. It's not that difficult to find. So a little surprised by that. So I didn't buy anything there. I think Rob got something. And so I left there kind of feeling a little discouraged, and we walked there. All these 3 stores we went to were a close walk. So we went to a place called the Hamilton Record Store. And again, I was a little underwhelmed. They had some bins at the front, which I didn't really find I didn't find anything I wanted. And then at the back, there was an extra room. And I will throw in a couple photos here. It was a really bizarre experience because it looked like a storeroom that you could go into. There was a sign to leave your bag outside, but I didn't leave my bag outside. And then there were, again, records shelved this way on the shelf, but in multiple copies. So I just happened to notice Alan Parsons. They seemed to be like 15 copies of Eye in the Sky. It looks like he'd gone to every lawn sale in Ontario for the last 50 years and just put the stuff there. So multiple copies of really common records, but nothing, there was no, as I recall, there was no Pink Floyd records back there, as an example. Certainly nothing new wave. There was just a bunch of common records in various categories. So I thought that was a little strange, and nothing in that store appealed to me. Then we went to Revolution Records, a little bit of a short walk up the street, and this was a much better store, a more modern store with modern inventory and things on the wall and new releases and that kind of thing. So I'd say one of the weird things about this store is that it had a large number of unofficial pressings. And if you've seen one of my videos from Boston, I talk about having accidentally bought a Rush bootleg, which I didn't realize, because I don't really see, in the whole time I've been collecting records, I don't really see records that are straight up copies of other records. I can't remember the last time that has ever happened, apart from Boston. But they were one of the first things I saw was a Tool record, which I know is $1,000 record. There's no official pressing since the original one, and there was one there for, you know, whatever it was, $40 or something. And I thought, this can't be a real pressing, and sure enough, it wasn't. So that was weird and a little bizarre. And I can understand why you might want to buy one of those things if you can't get the vinyl, but I didn't feel like I wanted to spend that money on an unofficial recording. But I did look around and found some things I liked, and I thought the prices were pretty okay. So there's this record from Aidan Baker and Claire Brantnall. It's kind of a weird cover. She is from a band called Shield Patterns. I've mentioned him before. He's a Canadian, well, I'll say guitarist, but it's kind of a weird guitar because he does a lot of loops and feedback. Well, looping kind of sounds. He's also a poet. He's released literally at least 100 recordings with under his own name or various bands like Nadja and things. So there's a lot of things that he's made. And I do have quite a lot of CDs from him, and I have some albums too. So I will buy things if it's a good price. This had a sticker of $29.99, and on top of that it said $9.99. So for $9.99, yes, I'm going to buy this. There are 7 tracks on here. There's some lyrics sung by Claire. I guess you call this dark wave, synth wave, shoegaze kind of thing. It's called Delirious Things. Delirious Things. A really cool record, by the way. I quite like it. So that to me was a win. I've seen him in concert only once many years ago. There was I don't know if it still exists. There was this weekly, was it weekly? Maybe it wasn't weekly, called the Ambient Ping in Toronto that was in various locations. I used to go to that and just kind of trip out to this slow moving ambient kind of sound that you'd experience. So that was really cool. I haven't been in years. I don't even know if it still exists, but I did see him there. So that's quite cool. I'm happy to have that. Now, filling in a bit of my metric collection. This is one that just passed me by called Art of Doubt. Art of Doubt. Here's the hype sticker. There were, I think, 5 singles released from this, and they're all great. Metric is led by Emily Haynes. You may know that I think her first real gig was with Broken Social Scene, and I think she still sings with them, I guess, but I don't know if they're touring. And this one came out in 2018, their 7th record. Everything they do, I find, is really compelling. I don't think they've made a bad record. I don't know how they do it. They keep making excellent records. I guess I don't know why I missed this one, but I just never got it. There's videos, I think, for all those singles on YouTube if you want to check them out. Really good. Her voice is really good. I saw them in concert once. I think they're very great music. And there are 2 black vinyl records in these sleeves, so 2 the same. Great. Love it. I think it's really good. Synth pop, of course. Indie rock. I mean, you might even call it new wave revival, because it does have that kind of new wave sound that you might have expected from the 80s, but really well done. Production, really excellent. I really like them. And then the last thing I got there was something I was looking for anyway, and I thought the price was pretty good. This is the new record from Godspeed You, Black Emperor. This is the hype sticker. Now, the title of it is a strange title. The title is No Title as of 13 February 2024. And then it says 28,340 dead. And that refers to the Israeli Hamas conflict. So again, a bit of a political record. They're a political band, but it's a post-rock record. So there are no lyrics, but they do have a political bent to them. There's the back. And there's a download code in here, which I will use. War is coming, don't give up, hang on, pick a side, love. And this is just typical black vinyl. Look at these, have these really tight cardboard sleeves when you... Just very simple, minimalistic A-B. There's 2 records in here. The other one looks pretty much the same. Just a different photograph. And then it says, Devils own this town. The good ones got evicted. Similar thing. I've always loved this band. Post-rock band. A really interesting, intriguing band. They're I would say the godfathers of Canadian post-rock, have spawned numerous side projects and bands. Really interesting music. I think they're really fantastic. And I've only listened to part of this, so I'm going to have to go through and listen to the rest. But did I show you this part? Yes. This says, there's the track listing here. So there was the single here is Grey Rubble, Green Shoots. But they tend to have really long tracks. So excellent. Happy to have that one. And that is it. After that, I drove home with no events. It was just an uneventful drive home. So yeah, I'm assuming, I don't know if Rob's putting a video up of what he found there, but if he does, check it out. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.